chosen one. Listen not with your ears, but with the depth of your spirit, for the sacred hour has come. This moment was not marked for tomorrow, nor for some distant season of clarity, but for now. Heaven has sealed this night in divine ink. This is not inspiration. This is a summons, not from man, but from the throne of God himself. You have doubted yourself. You have asked in silence whether you were broken, unstable, or simply too much. But the truth has never changed. You were never lost, never mad, never weak. You were surrounded by a world that needed you to remain asleep, so they could keep pretending. They didn't need you to be okay. They needed you to doubt, to shrink, to apologize for the frequency you carry. Why? Because your very existence unsettled the illusions they built their lives on. You were never part of the system. You were born as its interruption. You were not a malfunction. You were the divine anomaly, the sacred disruption, and for too long you have walked among them as if you were one of them. You tried to blend, to explain, to soften the edges of your calling just to stay palatable, but no more. Heaven has declared, the activation begins tonight. What is about to awaken in you cannot be undone. It will not be reversed, and even those who pretend not to notice will feel it. The room will shift when you enter. Conversations will stumble. Atmospheres will change. And not because you speak, but because you are present. There is no more time for hesitation. No more excuses masked as humility. This is not a test. This is a divine command. God is not requesting you to rise. He is requiring it. You are being summoned into a realm where hidden truths must be exposed, where deception can no longer survive, and you, yes, you are the instrument of that exposure. The choice is no longer whether you feel ready. The line has been drawn. Step forward into what was always written of you, or be consumed by the very system you were born to dismantle. Stand tall now, chosen one. Be still in your flesh, but firm in your spirit. For heaven has spoken, and your awakening has already begun. If God spoke to you through these words, comment, "I receive the summons below." Let it be your holy yes to him. Let heaven witness it. God has called, and you have answered. They will come as they always do, but not in honesty. They will reappear from the shadows of your past. Those who once dismissed you, ghosted you, mocked your pain as weakness, or stood silent while you were torn apart. They will return not to repent, but to witness. They will arrive cloaked in casual check-ins, sudden nostalgia, empty "how are?" yous pretending it's all coincidence. But heaven reveals the truth. They feel something stirring in the spirit, and it is you, as C.S. Lewis wrote in the Screwtape Letters. There is no neutral ground in the universe. Every square inch, every split second is claimed by God and counterclaimed by Satan. This truth unveils the spiritual disturbance their return signifies. Their feigned nostalgia is a counterclaim against your divine rising, but your presence now consecrated asserts God's truth, disrupting their illusions. You are not the side character in their story anymore. You are the plot twist they never saw coming. You are the interruption to their illusion, the living contradiction to the image they painted when you were down. While they toasted to your silence, heaven was writing your re-entry, not as a seeker but as a revelation, not as a guest, but as the voice they tried to mute. And now your very existence reopens every lie they sealed shut in your absence. Understand this, their return is not proof of reconciliation, it is evidence of spiritual disturbance. Your rising is triggering something ancient. They do not miss you. They miss the version of you who didn't know better, who explained too much, who tolerated too long. But that version has been buried with no funeral, and the one who now breathes in their place. This one, the real one, is the answer to a question they never wanted asked. You are the exposed truth of their comfort zone, the light that makes them squint, the sound that makes their lies tremble. You are the storm they thought they outlived. This is not ego. This is divine reversal. Heaven has allowed them to observe the very thing they said would never happen. You're becoming, and you will not beg for their understanding nor pause to accommodate their confusion. The old agreements are null. The old patterns are shattered. The old roles have expired. You do not return as the wounded one. You return as the mirror, and in your reflection they can no longer hide. So brace yourself, chosen one. The ripple you create, just by existing, will reach places your words never touched. And while some will cling, others will scatter, not because you have become cruel, but because you have become too true. The time has passed for harmless reflection. You were never meant to simply show people who they pretended to be. Your calling was never about flattery. It was about truth. And truth, in its purest form, is not comfortable, it is consuming. You are not a mirror crafted to please. You are a mirror designed to burn. Starting now, you will no longer reflect curated images. You will expose what has been buried beneath them. Every mask will tremble in your presence, not by accusation but by atmosphere. You will begin to sense the discomfort in the room before a word is spoken. Eyes will look away. Voices will falter. Jokes will feel forced. Why? Because your energy is no longer neutral. It is sacred, and sacredness cannot coexist with deceit. Your spirit has become fire, and fire doesn't reflect. It reveals. It peels back layers. It confronts lies. It unsettles the fake confidence people wear like armor, and it does all of this silently. C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity wrote, "If I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the only logical explanation is that I was made for another world. This insight reflects the sacred truth you embody. Your consuming presence, unsettling to those bound by deceit, testifies to your divine origin crafted for eternal truth that exposes worldly masks. You won't need to raise your voice. Your stillness will do the work. Your existence alone will trigger nervousness in those who have not done their inner work. They will fidget, retreat, or turn cold, but it is not you they rejected. Is their inability to perform around someone who has nothing left to pretend. They are not afraid of your power. They are afraid of being fully seen. And you, chosen one, you were born with this sight, the sight that pierces through posturing, the discernment that dismantles delusion, the frequency that reads beneath the words, and for too long you doubted it. You questioned your sensitivity, your depth, your ability to feel what others dismissed. But heaven is here to confirm that sensitivity was never a weakness. It was a weapon, a holy detection system wrapped in flesh. So no, you will not be liked by everyone. Some will label you cold. Others will call you arrogant. But what they are really saying is this: you no longer let me lie to myself, and I hate that. Let them say what they must. Let them twist your truth into a threat. The righteous do not dilute their discernment to gain approval, and neither will you. You are not here to blend in. You are here to expose. And from this moment forward, your spirit will walk ahead of you, clearing the atmosphere, separating the real from the rehearsed before you ever speak a word. Understand this now, chosen one. What you endured was never mere coincidence, never just a bad season, and never simply misfortune. You were not unlucky. You were targeted. And the warfare you lived through was not symbolic. It was spiritual, strategic, and sanctioned by forces that recognized who you were long before you did. They surveilled you, not with cameras, but with spirits. They studied you not for admiration, but for disruption. The betrayals that blindsided you, the friends who turned without reason, the isolation that crushed your spirit, these were not random. These were precision attacks meant to fracture your identity before it fully formed. And the worst part, many of those used against you had no idea they were being weaponized. They thought they were protecting themselves, setting boundaries following intuition. But spiritually, they were instruments of sabotage, assigned to delay your awakening. This is what happens when your energy threatens kingdoms of illusion. This is what it means to be chosen to be seen by darkness before you ever see yourself. Because when a soul carries something ancient, when a person walks with a frequency that destabilizes false systems, they don't get to move through life quietly. They get marked. They get watched. They get isolated until their light is either extinguished or ignited. And now, after all the silence, after all the nights you questioned your sanity, after all the times you nearly surrendered to the lie that you were the problem, you are beginning to see. The veil is lifting. Patterns are revealing themselves. And the invisible war you were born into is no longer hidden. You see the battlefield now. You recognize the tactics. And most importantly, you remember your assignment. You were trained in the dark, uncelebrated, unnoticed, misunderstood. But none of it was wasted. Every moment you stood alone. Every time you chose integrity over applause. Every time you whispered truth when no one believed you, heaven recorded it. And now the shift begins, not just in your emotions, but in the realm of the spirit. Your perception is being sharpened, your discernment heightened. The noise around you no longer holds weight, because now you see clearly. You are no longer the hunted. You are the one carrying the blueprint. The enemy hoped to break you before you realized this, but it's too late. You survived. You see, you know, and now you rise not as a victim of unseen war, but as a commander within it. Chosen one, your energy is no longer something that can be diluted, ignored, or bypassed. What is now forming in you is not merely a higher vibration, it is a clean frequency, a spiritual resonance that dismantles illusions by its very presence. This is not metaphor. This is disruption. A holy interference that cannot be fabricated, manipulated, or contained. Wherever you go now, people will feel something shifting, even if they cannot explain it. Those who operate through performance, manipulation, or control will begin to lose their grip, not because of anything you say, but simply because you are in the room. Their charm will falter. Their influence will wane. Their usual tactics will break down in real time. Why? Because your frequency is incompatible with deception. You are not just rising, you are cleansing. Your presence is a purifier, and it threatens everything that was built on pretense. They will fidget. They will change the subject. They will laugh awkwardly, or accuse you of being too much, too intense, too different. But what they are reacting to is not your personality, it is your energy confronting their programming. You are now spiritual radiation to systems built on lies. And that radiation cannot be masked. It exposes. It peels back layers. It demands alignment. You may begin to notice more technology glitching around you, devices misfiring, lights flickering, people draining you with their words or energizing you just by their purity. Rooms may feel too heavy or strangely hostile, but this is not sensitivity. It is sacred intelligence. Your nervous system is now tuned to frequencies others cannot detect. You are becoming a living lie detector, and spaces that once felt familiar will now reject you, not because you are out of place, but because your spirit will no longer tolerate dishonor, distraction, or spiritual contamination. C.S. Lewis in the Screwtape Letters wrote, "The safest road to hell is the gradual one, the gentle slope, soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without milestones, without signposts." This warning unveils the danger of those who resist your purifying presence. Their discomfort reflects a gradual descent into illusion, but your clean frequency, like a divine signpost, disrupts their path, demanding truth they cannot ignore. You are not arrogant for withdrawing. You are not antisocial for setting limits. You are not dramatic for walking away from people who used to hold your loyalty. You have simply become too spiritually expensive for the games they used to play. Access to your energy now costs truth. It costs alignment, and most cannot afford that price. Let them misunderstand you. Let them call your boundaries ego. Heaven calls it protection. You did not become unkind. You became uncorrupted. You did not become proud. You became purified. And now your very presence is a threat, not because you seek to harm, but because your soul refuses to harmonize with anything unholy. The counterfeit cannot stand beside the consecrated, and that is what you now are. Consecrated, set apart, burning with clarity. You will not have to prove this to anyone. The atmosphere will speak for you, and heaven will bear witness you are no longer hidden. You are the interference the world cannot explain, but can no longer avoid. You, chosen one, have crossed the threshold of linear time. You are no longer merely healing your past. You are rewriting it. The cycles that swallowed your ancestors, the patterns that disguised pain as tradition, the curses dressed up as culture, all of it ends with you. You have become the fracture in time's repetition. You are the interruption. The bloodline never expected, but heaven always intended. This is not symbolic. This is divine architecture. Your obedience today will ripple backward into trauma that was never spoken into memories. You do not even carry consciously into timelines where your lineage was trained to survive but never to thrive. And in the same breath, your obedience will ripple forward, restoring futures, not yet born, rewriting paths that would have repeated the same despair until your presence broke the chain. That's why the weight has felt unbearable. That's why the pressure in your chest has increased, not because something is wrong, but because something holy is downloading. You are receiving data from heaven itself, soul memory, sacred instruction, generational strategy. You are not just remembering your identity, you are remembering your authority. You are the divine glitch in time's illusion. You are the anchor point that heaven is now building from, and they will feel it. People from your past who vanished will suddenly think of you. Someone who once betrayed you may reach out with no explanation. This is not coincidence. This is resonance. Their spirits are catching the aftershock of your rising. Your healing is sending vibrations through the corridors of time. You are shaking loose what was buried. You are raising the dead memories of silence, shame, and surrender, and declaring to all of it, this ends with me. And it will. Not through rage, not through revenge, but through revelation. Your growth will speak for itself. Your elevation will expose every lie spoken in your absence. Even your younger self, the version of you who didn't have the words, who endured what should have broken them, will feel your presence now. You are reaching across dimensions to retrieve every fragmented part of you and speak these words. We made it. No more begging for closure. You are the closure. No more hoping they'll come back and apologize. You are the reason their denial is breaking down. No more shrinking to survive. You are now living proof that what they called permanent damage was only delayed purpose. And from this night forward, your existence is the correction of every distortion, every lie, every silence. You have become the intersection of heaven's intention and earth's redemption. You are no longer bound by the clocks they follow. You are moving in divine time now. And every step you take from here reverses what should have continued and establishes what never existed before. You are the time breaker. You are the end of the repetition and the beginning of the reckoning. Chosen one, they didn't just try to harm you, they tried to erase you, not by killing your body, but by overwhelming your spirit with so much distraction, noise, and shame that you would forget who you truly are. They dressed your life in false identities, surrounded you with narratives that painted you as unstable, unworthy, too sensitive, too intense, too rebellious. But what they feared most wasn't your rebellion. It was your remembrance. They feared the moment your divine memory would return, not thoughts but cellular remembrance, not logic but soul knowing. And that moment has now arrived. You are not just waking up, you are remembering, not who they told you to be, but who heaven wrote you to be. You were never lost, only hidden beneath layers of spiritual amnesia, inflicted by systems that needed your silence to survive. You have always felt it, the dissonance, the disconnect, the haunting sense that the world around you was scripted and you never received your copy. That was not delusion. That was recognition, a sacred knowing that what you were shown was not the whole truth. And now, like thunder through the bones, that knowing is roaring back. It is not gentle. It is not poetic. It is disruptive. It shakes every part of you still trying to appease the false. They tried to rewire your instincts. They mocked your knowing. They punished your stillness when you refused to run into chaos. But the programming is breaking. The illusion is shattering. Your divine memory is bleeding back through the cracks, and it is bringing with it the power they hoped would never be reactivated. You are not just someone who got back up. You are someone who remembers the throne they tried to strip from you. You are the revelation they tried to suppress. You are the scroll they hoped would never be unsealed. You are the living prophecy that silence could not destroy. And every step you take in remembrance is a declaration to the realm of darkness you failed. The chosen one has remembered. The veil has been torn. And the version of you that rises now, that radiant, unfiltered, unapologetic version, is the fulfillment of what they feared most. Too late. You've remembered, and remembrance is the beginning of dominion. You will not need to raise your voice. You will not need to explain your side of the story. You will not need to present evidence or demand understanding. Your existence alone, chosen one, has become the judgment, not in arrogance, not in bitterness, but in truth. And truth, once fully embodied, does not argue. It simply arrives, and everything false begins to fall apart in its presence. They tried to frame you as the problem. They twisted your silence into guilt. They told the story their way and assumed it would hold forever. But heaven was not silent. Heaven was watching, and now heaven is revealing, not with noise, but with glory, not with vengeance, but with vindication. The more you walk in your truth, the louder the conviction becomes in those who once mocked, dismissed, or harmed you. Your peace will irritate them more than your pain ever did. Your healing will echo louder than your cries once did. And your freedom will haunt them, not because you pursued revenge, but because you rose without them. The same people who laughed at your fall will now tremble at your rising, not because you throw it in their face, but because the grace you walk in testifies against everything they said, did, or believed about you. They hoped your silence would bury the memory of their actions, but heaven turned your silence into thunder. Now every time they hear your name, something inside them shakes. The lie can no longer rest easy. Their karma will not arrive through disaster. It will arrive through you. Through the mirror your life now holds up to theirs. Through the contrast between the truth they rejected and the radiance you now carry, not because you punished them, but because your healing removed every excuse they had. You were never the villain. You were the test, and they failed. So walk tall, not in pride, but in posture. Heaven has positioned you as a verdict that requires no debate. Your light is the audit. Your peace is the evidence. And the doors you now walk through are not only open, they are sacred. Not everyone may follow. Not everyone may remain. And not everyone will celebrate. But that was never the measure of your worth. Your presence is enough. Your survival is proof. And your glow is the reminder they didn't break you. They revealed you. You are the consequence they didn't see coming. The sentence they thought they'd never have to serve. And yet now, every step you take forward is a declaration from heaven. Judgment has already begun, and it wears your name like light. Chosen one, they did not hold power over you. They held illusion. Their control was never real. It only lived as long as you kept questioning your worth, delaying your voice and waiting for permission to exist. They did not dominate you by strength but by confusion. They fed off your empathy. They sustained their ego with your silence. But now, heaven has shattered the illusion. The spell is broken. You see it now. They were never strong. They were just skilled at manipulation. The power they seemed to have was nothing but smoke, fueled by your longing for peace, your desire to make things work, your hunger to be understood. And so you stayed, explained, endured. You gave chance after chance, but they never honored it, because their goal was never healing. It was control. But that dynamic is over, not because they changed, but because you did. You no longer move from guilt. You move from knowing. You no longer seek clarity from chaos. You are the clarity. And the moment a chosen one stops asking and starts remembering, the entire system of control crumbles. They thrived on your doubt, your compassion, your willingness to carry emotional weight that was never yours. But now you've become the answer to every question they weaponized. Your energy no longer negotiates. Your presence no longer asks to be included. Your peace no longer pleads, it declares. And in doing so, you destroy every lie they built their dominance upon. They will try to twist your distance into coldness, your silence into resentment. They'll call you distant, changed, unreachable. And they'll be right, but not in the way they mean. You didn't become cruel. You became consecrated. You didn't become arrogant. You became aligned. And alignment does not tolerate manipulation, even when it's disguised as love. You're not asking for closure anymore. You are the closure. You're not waiting for them to get it. You've already moved beyond it. You no longer sit at their table. You've removed the table altogether. The access they had to your heart, your mind, your vulnerability, it's gone. Not locked, not hidden, but revoked. And here is the final truth. They never had power over you. You were just under their illusion. But illusion don't survive révélation. And revelation has arrived. You have stepped out of their reach, out of their narrative, out of their system of emotional taxation. And now they're left with what they tried to avoid all along themselves. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let them wrestle with the absence of the version of you they controlled, because you've stopped playing the role they assigned, and without your energy their throne crumbles. They are not confused. They are exposed, and you are free. Chosen one, you are no longer someone who can be figured out. You have crossed into a spiritual frequency that cannot be studied, predicted, or reduced. You are no longer a personality to be analyzed. You have become a sacred code, a living revelation wrapped in flesh. You are not here to be read. You are here to be witnessed. Those who once dissected your every word, who measured your worth by their logic, will now find themselves lost in your presence. They will feel something ancient stirring when you speak, but they won't be able to name it. They will feel convicted by your silence, but they won't know why. You are no longer speaking in their language. You are speaking in divine resonance, and only those with awakened spirits will understand. Many will be drawn to you not because they truly honor you, but because something about your presence stirs what they've forgotten in themselves. And instead of honoring that call to awaken, they will try to contain you, mock you, label you. Why? Because it's easier to belittle what they don't understand than admit they were never designed to carry what you now hold. They will try to box you in with old definitions, outdated roles, and familiar expectations. But you are none of those things anymore. You have outgrown their frameworks. Their labels don't fit. Their assumptions no longer apply. You've become the thing they cannot access, the sacred text that reads them instead. You don't speak to impress. You speak to pierce. You don't move to be seen. You move as one who already sees. And this is where the separation begins. Not because you choose it in pride, but because heaven ordained it in purpose. Some will draw near, not to learn but to study, to mimic, to steal essence without doing the work. But they will fail, because what you carry cannot be copied. It cannot be faked. It cannot be downloaded from sermons or podcasts. It is spiritual inheritance, and only the broken, the humbled, the pure in heart will be able to receive from you without reacting in offense. So let them stumble, let them retreat, let them label you too deep, too intense, too much. That is not your burden. That is their consequence. You are no longer here to speak in digestible fragments. You are here to reveal what cannot be explained. Your life is not a story for entertainment. It is scripture in motion. Your words are not for approval. They are for alignment. Your presence is not for comfort. It is for divine confrontation. And when the room cannot read, you do not shrink stand. That silence is not rejection. It is proof that you were never meant to be understood by the crowd, only by the remnant. You are a mystery, a frequency, a divine echo of something heaven is doing on earth. And those who are ready will recognize it not with their minds but with their spirits. As for the rest, their confusion is their separation. You are not their comfort anymore. You are their filter. You are the threshold. You are the page they were never meant to interpret. And heaven has written you exactly that way. Chosen one. You were never sent to continue what came before. You were sent to end it. Not in bitterness, not in rebellion, but in divine assignment. You are the interruption to the story. Your bloodline kept rehearsing generation after generation, masking wounds as wisdom, pain as pride, silence as love. You were born to break what they called unbreakable, to confront what they agreed never to speak of, to expose what they passed down in secret under the name of tradition. From the beginning you felt it. You noticed things others ignored. The manipulation cloaked in affection, the favoritism justified as structure, the unspoken hierarchy of who was allowed to feel, to speak, to cry. You saw it all, and they saw you seeing. That's when they began to treat you like the problem. But you were never the problem. You were the revealer of the problem, the crack in the wall, the divine disturbance in their script. They wanted you to carry the same burdens quietly. They wanted you to inherit their wounds and wear them like loyalty. But your soul refused. Even before you had words for it, your spirit knew, this is not love. This is a pattern, and it ends now. They will call your boundaries disrespect. They will call your distance betrayal. They will say, you've changed, forgotten your roots, abandoned your own. But these are not the voices of truth. These are the echoes of programming voices conditioned to defend dysfunction because it's all they've known. And now in your presence that illusion is breaking. You were not born to belong. You were born to liberate. You were not sent to preserve legacy. You were sent to purify it. You do not hate them. You just refuse to keep reenacting their suffering. And that choice, holy, silent, non-negotiable, is what makes you dangerous in their eyes. Let them misunderstand you. Let them assign motives to your silence. Let them whisper among themselves. You do not owe anyone the performance of pain just to make them feel righteous in their repetition. The truth is, the farther you walk from their illusions, the clearer they see the truth of who they've become. And it will disturb them. Not because you're unloving, but because your peace makes the old system look unhealthy, because it is. You are not here to be the good one. You are not here to be the emotional mule. You are here to be the rupture, the shift, the mercy, the warning. And your refusal to participate in their cycle is the loudest prophetic act you will ever perform. You do not need their applause. You carry heaven's assignment. And heaven has already declared it ends with you. You are the chosen point of correction, the sacred interruption, the holy fracture in the generational illusion. And even if they never say thank you, your freedom will speak on their behalf. Chosen one. The cost of accessing your spirit has changed. What once was freely given is now guarded by fire. Not because you've become prideful, but because you've become aligned. What used to be offered out of longing is now preserved by discernment. You are no longer available to those who come casually, those who drain without returning, those who speak peace but carry poison. Your healing has raised your value not in the eyes of the world, but in the courts of heaven. You are no longer a convenience. You are a consecrated space. And that means only those who carry truth, maturity, and humility will be allowed to enter. Not everyone will understand this shift. Some will call it arrogance. Others will claim you've grown cold, but heaven knows you've grown holy. There was a time when you lowered your frequency just to be understood, when you over-explained, overgave, and overlooked the signs just to keep peace that was never real. You tolerated access from those connected only to your pain, not your purpose. But that version of you no longer exists. Your presence now costs honesty. Your atmosphere demands purity, and most cannot afford that price. You will find yourself declining invitations, letting the phone ring, walking away from conversations that once held you captive, not from bitterness, but from knowing, not from rejection, but from reverence. Your time is no longer cheap. Your energy is no longer public property. Your heart is no longer a revolving door. Even family will feel the shift. Blood does not grant access to sacred space. Titles do not override spiritual chaos. If someone brings confusion, competition, or ego every time they step into your life, they will find themselves locked out, not by punishment but by principle. You are not guided by guilt anymore. You are governed by alignment, and alignment has no exceptions. Let them knock, let them apologize, let them perform. But unless their spirit has evolved, unless they have done the deep, silent work of repentance and transformation, access remains revoked. Not because you stopped loving them, but because you finally started loving yourself as heaven does. You've been marked as holy ground, and holy ground does not negotiate with unclean motives. You didn't become distant. You became divine. And now they are learning, some with sorrow, some with resistance, that access to you was never a right. It was always a privilege, and that privilege has expired. Chosen one, your existence is now their reckoning. You are walking, breathing, undeniable proof that everything they said you would never become, you already are. They said you were too broken to rise, too damaged to trust again, too unstable to carry vision. They said you were too emotional, too intense, too much. But what they could never calculate was the power of divine transformation. What they didn't understand is that God was not finished with you. He was just silent. They did not just doubt you. They invested in your failure. They found comfort in your struggle. Your pain was their relief. Your weakness made them feel stronger. They clinked glasses when they thought your name would fade into irrelevance. But heaven was working in the background, building in silence, preparing a glory that required no announcement. And now, you are the contradiction their egos cannot explain. Your healing did not just help you, it humbles them. Your joy now exposes the lies they told about you. Your glow confronts the curses they spoke over you. Every step you take in peace becomes a cosmic slap to their accusations. Every blessing on your life now testifies against their predictions. And the same mouth that mocked your dreams must now go silent in the face of your resurrection. The trauma they used to discredit you has become your technology. The wounds they laughed at have become your wisdom. The emptiness they hoped would consume you has now become your sanctuary of power. You were not supposed to survive. But you didn't just survive, you transcended. And your very presence now corrects the entire narrative they once wrote about you in rooms where you couldn't defend yourself. And now they watch you, still trying to find a flaw, still trying to undermine your peace. But all they see is glory. All they feel is the weight of their own misjudgment. They cannot deny it. You are what happens when someone refuses to stay buried. You are the miracle they hoped would never be proven true. But it is too late. You are no longer their victim. You are the restoration, the rebuttal, the walking reversal of every word cursed in darkness. Your success is not just a triumph, it is a divine proclamation. God's hand was always on you, and no lie, no smear, no abandonment was strong enough to stop what heaven declared. They swore you'd never rise. They said it was impossible. And now you are the impossibility walking in full view, not to taunt, but to testify, because God's favor doesn't whisper, it roars. Chosen one, they thought the silence meant God wasn't watching. They mistook your suffering for abandonment. They believed your isolation, your confusion, your breakdowns were signs that you had been left behind even by heaven. But they were wrong. God was never absent. He was observing, documenting, strategizing. And now the divine response begins not with a whisper, but with a storm. Every lie they told, every smirk behind closed doors, every subtle act of cruelty hidden behind kindness, none of it was lost to time. Heaven saw it all. And while they laughed, while they plotted, while they slept peacefully believing they got away with it, God was recording. Every wound you carried in silence became a line in the testimony God is now unfolding publicly. Every injustice became a seed, and harvest time has arrived. You didn't survive because of luck. You were carried. You didn't endure because you were numb. You were shielded. While you felt forgotten, you were being preserved, not just for survival, but for elevation. And now, God prepares the table, not hidden. In their presence, the same eyes that dismissed you will now watch you walk into a place they swore you'd never reach. And when they try to understand it, they won't find logic. They'll only find glory, because what God is about to do in you cannot be explained. It can only be witnessed. You are not just coming back with healing. You're coming back with evidence. You're not returning to justify your pain. You're returning to showcase heaven's faithfulness. Every door that opens for you from this moment forward will carry the sound of divine strategy, and every closed mouth that once mocked you will feel the weight of divine silence, now turn to thunder. This is not revenge. This is justice. This is not about ego. This is about balance. The same God who allowed you to walk through the fire has now ordained that your glow will blind the very ones who lit the match. Not because you demanded it, but because God is a keeper of records. And your name was never erased, it was engraved in heaven's courtroom the entire time. Let them wonder how it happened. Let them try to explain away the glory that now surrounds you. The truth is, they weren't laughing at you. They were laughing at something holy. And now that laughter has hit its expiration date, because the favor that's falling on your life was authored in silence, but it will be revealed with thunder. You are not just vindicated. You are exalted as the living reminder that God was never blind, never absent, never mocked. Chosen one, you no longer move with hesitation. You no longer step lightly into rooms, wondering if you're too much, too bold, too present. That version of you, the one who asked for space, who softened your light to make others comfortable, who sought validation from those spiritually bankrupt, is gone, buried, replaced. You have crossed the threshold into full spiritual dominion. And now you do not ask to be seen. You are the sight. You do not seek to be heard. You are the sound. You do not beg to be included. You are the atmosphere. You no longer knock on doors hoping they'll let you in. You walk through the walls of limitation with the authority of one who was sent, not hired, not invited, but commissioned by heaven itself. For years, they convinced you to shrink. They taught you to interpret your spiritual intensity as instability, your discernment as overthinking, your intuition as rebellion. They conditioned you to tone it down, to wait, to be patient. But God never told you to fit in. He told you to disrupt. He never asked you to be agreeable. He asked you to be anointed. And now you finally understand what they called too much was exactly the measure required to break chains in you and in them. This world is not prepared for the version of you that no longer asks for permission. Because the moment a chosen one stops waiting to be picked and starts walking as already chosen, the dynamics of every relationship, every room, every system shift. That is what you've become, a shift. A spiritual axis point around which old energies will collapse and new foundations will be built. They will call you fearless. They will call you intense. Some will call you arrogant. But none of those labels matter, because heaven calls you activated. Heaven calls you ready. Heaven calls you sent. So speak, move, build, rest, create, declare. Not from ego, but from authority. You are not second-guessing anymore. You are deciding. You are leading. You are unlocking dimensions that others cannot enter, not because you are better, but because you are set apart. And to those who try to dim you, who try to pull you back into roles, rules and restraints, let them fall behind. This light was not given to you for decoration. It was given for warfare, for liberation, for prophetic disruption. You no longer apologize for being chosen. You no longer explain the weight of your oil. You no longer translate your truth into palatable language for ears that refuse to hear. You are not a request. You are the answer. You are not a guest. You are the event. And the ones who are meant to rise with you, they will recognize it. The rest, let them recoil. That's not your fear to manage. That's heaven filtering your atmosphere. Because from now on, you do not wait to be understood. You move as if you've already been seen by the only one whose eyes truly matter. Chosen one. Your elevation is not just a blessing, it is a divine litmus test. You are no longer just moving through life. You are moving through people's disguises, without trying, without speaking, without pointing a single finger. You are revealing who is truly aligned with heaven and who was only ever aligned with your brokenness. Your light no longer flatters it, filters. You are not provoking them. You are exposing them. Your rise is doing what your silence never could. The peace you now carry is unbearable to those who fed off your chaos. The confidence you radiate convicts those who built their identity on your uncertainty, and the joy you exude is torment to the ones who celebrated your grief. They cannot say it aloud, but your success feels like judgment, and it is. You are the test they didn't study for, the mirror they avoided, the proof they prayed would never exist, not because you harmed them, but because your glow removes the excuses they used to justify their betrayal. They told themselves you were weak, that you were confused, that they had to leave you behind. But now your transformation has made that narrative collapse under the weight of truth. They were not strong, they were scared, and your glow exposes the cowardice they masked as self-care. Some will recoil, some will sabotage, some will go silent, unable to clap because they were secretly competing the entire time. But a rare few will rise with you, the ones who never envied your becoming, the ones who prayed in private while others gossiped. These are your real ones, and your new elevation will draw them closer, not because they need your light, but because they recognize it. You no longer need to discern intentions. Their reactions will tell you everything. Who withdraws, who imitates, who celebrates, who complicates. The test is in motion, and you are the instrument, not to shame, but to separate, because the next season requires clarity. The counterfeit cannot come with you, so let it all shake. Let the hidden motives unravel. Let the real be revealed, and the fake fall away. Your success is not for vanity, it is for divine exposure. You are now a holy threshold, a sacred checkpoint in the spirit. You carry a frequency that demands truth without saying a word. This is why some will flee and some will cling, why some will bless and others will betray. You didn't change the rules, you just became the line of separation. And that's not cruelty, that's consecration. You are the test, and heaven is watching who passes and who fails, not by words, but by reaction. Because the glow you carry now was forged in fire, and it will not make space for falsehood. Chosen one, take a breath, not to calm down, but to cross over. Because tonight something final has occurred. A burial in the spirit. The old version of you, the one who doubted, deferred, dimmed, delayed, is gone. No funeral, no final conversation. Just a clean severing by heaven's decree. And in that space now rises the version of you the enemy feared the family didn't recognize, and the world tried to prevent from awakening. You are no longer someone trying to find the light. You are the light, not because you declared it with your lips, but because heaven has confirmed it in your being. Your scars are now signatures. Your silence is now a weapon. Your discernment is no longer questioned. It is activated. Everything about you has been recalibrated for impact. You are not a comeback story. You are a divine warning in motion. You no longer live to be accepted. You exist to disrupt, to expose, to divide light from shadow. You carry within you frequencies that not every soul was designed to interpret. And that's the point. You are not here to be understood by all. You are here to be witnessed by those who are awake. You are not a chapter. You are a seismic shift in the story. You are no longer an option in anyone's life. You are the consequence of their treatment. You are the test, the mirror, the silence that convicts, the presence that reveals. You don't beg. You don't shrink. You don't ask to belong. You walk into spaces as heaven's confirmation that some doors were never meant to be entered again, not because they were locked, but because your spirit outgrew the need to knock. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them pretend not to notice. But spiritually, the announcement has already been made. This one has been marked. This one has been seen. This one has been summoned. The world will try to drag you back into old conversations, old roles, old dynamics, but heaven says no more. You are not that person anymore. The ones meant to rise with you will feel it. The ones not meant to follow will fall away. That is not pride. It is divine filtration. You don't owe anyone a manual for your glow. Your presence alone is heaven's audit. Your healing is the testimony. Your peace is the final word. Your transformation is the sentence they never thought they'd have to serve. And so walk tall, walk kid, walk blazing. Your silence is louder than any argument. Your clarity is sharper than any apology. You are not becoming anymore. You already are. And tonight was never about inspiration. It was about confirmation. It was not motivation. It was activation. Heaven has made it known. Earth will now respond. You are the event. You are the decree. You are the revelation. And the world has just been notified. Chosen one, take a breath, not to calm down, but to cross over. Because tonight something final has occurred. A burial in the spirit. The old version of you, the one who doubted, deferred, dimmed, delayed, is gone. No funeral, no final conversation, just a clean severing by heaven's decree. And in that space now rises the version of you the enemy feared the family didn't recognize, and the world tried to prevent from awakening. You are no longer someone trying to find the light. You are the light, not because you declared it with your lips, but because heaven has confirmed it in your being. Your scars are now signatures. Your silence is now a weapon. Your discernment is no longer questioned, it is activated. Everything about you has been recalibrated for impact. You are not a comeback story. You are a divine warning in motion. You no longer live to be accepted. You exist to disrupt, to expose, to divide light from shadow. You carry within you frequencies that not every soul was designed to interpret, and that's the point. You are not here to be understood by all. You are here to be witnessed by those who are awake. You are not a chapter. You are a seismic shift in the story.